And I just want him home. I just want him home. He doesn't deserve to be in there.
21-year-old William Marcus Wilson has been in a Georgia jail since mid-June. He faces charges of felony murder and aggravated assault for the shooting death of a teenager. His family doesn't deny that he pulled the trigger, but his sister Chelsea Burnett says there's more the system should consider.
The color of my brother's skin has so much to do with why he is behind bars right now.
She says her brother feared for his life when he opened fire on a truck of white teens the morning of June 14th. The car's driver was allegedly trying to run Wilson's car off the road, while others yelled racist slurs, according to his sister.
He had a right to stand his ground. He felt like his life was threatened, and I 100% believe that.
A gunshot killed 17-year-old Haley Hutcheson, a passenger in the truck. Burnett questions why her brother, who is biracial, is accused of murder despite his self-defense claims.
If he were white and his skin showed that he was fully white, he would not have ever been put in handcuffs.
It's a case drawing attention to the small town of Statesboro, Georgia, and bringing scrutiny from civil rights groups over who stand your ground laws protect.
The authorities are not extending any stand your ground protections to Mark Wilson.
Georgia is one of 27 states with stand your ground laws that approve the use of deadly force in self-defense. Another Georgia prosecutor initially concluded that the now high-profile death of Ahmaud Arbery was justified under that same theory of law.
The Ahmaud Arbery case is very much linked to this case and not just by geography.
A redacted police report of the shooting says that the officers were responding to a call about a possible drive-by shooting close to 1 a.m. on June 14th. By then, Hutcheson had been taken to the hospital with a fatal gunshot wound. In a police press conference captured by WSAV, Haley's family begged the public for information.
Our state, our counties need this message right here more than anything. There can be mercy, there can be forgiveness, but justice, it has to be served.
Wilson's sister says he had already spoken to police by the time of that press conference. And according to his family,
thank you for your Taco Bell.
The shouting of racial slurs began after he left this Taco Bell drive-thru with his girlfriend, who was white.
When you have a car full of young white men in South Georgia calling your girlfriend an N-word lover and trying to literally run you off the road and is hanging out of the car, shooting all kinds of words and explicatives, you can't really tell what's next.
At some point, Wilson fired his gun, killing Hutcheson. 3 days after the shooting on June 17th, he turned himself in.
He was worried about our mom more than anything, and I just told him, like, I got mama, like, I got her, and I just gave him a hug. I mean, there was no words to say. I didn't need him to explain or justify to me anything because I know who he is.
The president of the Georgia NAACP, Reverend James Woodall, is one of many claiming prosecutors are targeting the wrong people.
Ms. Hutcheson is a victim. She was murdered, but she wasn't murdered by Mr. Wilson. She was murdered by the gentlemen that were in the vehicle at the time of her death.
Wilson's sister sees it as a test of faith.
Society's ugliness truly showed its colors that night, and that's hard for people who grow up wanting to see the light in everything.
And obviously at this point, all the facts of the case are not clear. That's what trials are for. That's what preliminary hearings are for as well. But let's bring in Julia Janae, Court TV crime and justice reporter. Julia, just a couple of factual questions here. And I don't know if it's clear yet. Is there evidence or eyewitness testimony from anyone other than the people in the two vehicles that Marcus Wilson's car was being run off the road by the vehicle that the victim was driving in?
What we have is the incident report that the sheriff's office released, and it does not say anything about witnesses. It only lists the people who are actually involved in this. So it lists the 3 men who were in the truck. It lists the victim and it lists Marcus Wilson. It does not identify his girlfriend who was allegedly in the car with him at the time. So that's information we don't know, and the gag order that the judge has put in place in this case make it even more difficult for us to even get information from the sheriff's office, from the investigators who were involved in this at this stage, because the judge is very adamant that he wants to ensure there is a fair trial.
And were police called immediately by Marcus Wilson? When did that contact take place? I know it took I don't know if it was a day or so, then he turned himself in before that press conference, but was there a call to police reporting being run off the road or anything?
There's nothing that we have seen about a call to police that night that came from Wilson. We see from the incident report, as I mentioned, that there was a call about a possible drive-by shooting, but his family says that he knew or was aware of what was going on and did talk to police within the first couple of days after this happened, and then after police returned or made the statement that they were looking for the suspect in it is when he did turn himself in. So there are still a lot of questions. Again, that gag order keeping what we know was a nearly 25-page report that had a lot of details that was initially released, but then because of that gag order, not released to any other media outlets.
And tomorrow we have a bond hearing in this case, right? What's going to happen?
Bond hearing is tomorrow, early in the morning, 8:30, and at the Bullitt County Superior Court, we are expecting that we are going to hear testimony, even though the clerk's office has let us know officially that they do not believe there will be a lot of testimony because of that gag order. But if you look at the docket, there are several people who are identified who have been subpoenaed for this hearing by the defense, and that includes the 3 men who were in that vehicle, the other vehicle that Wilson was firing his gun at. So we expect that even though the defense is going to be bringing up whether or not the defendant is a flight risk or whether he deserves a bond, they will very likely be getting into this incident and his self-defense claim.
Yeah, I think they have to. I don't think you can't gag people in a courtroom. I mean, you can gag them outside of the courtroom, potentially. A community vigil was held in this case over the weekend, but it wasn't for the victim, it was for the defendant.
There has really been an outpouring in the community in support of Marcus Wilson with these charges, and there were several groups that are backing him that were at this demonstration that was at the courthouse yesterday, and there were people there. We know there's expected to be 100 people because this hearing was postponed before, and at that time there were 100 people waiting to sit in on this hearing, and most of them were there for the defendant. And so we expect that there will be that same showing tomorrow, but they all still have what they want to hear from this family. We've reached out to the victim's family asking them for a comment, and they've let us know that because of that gag order, they really cannot speak. But here's something that one of the activists, Alicia Cooper, said at that vigil yesterday directly to the victim's family.
And we feel the pain of the loss that the Hutcheson family is experiencing. We mourn with you. We want justice for you too, which is why y'all should stand with us and stand with Mark. The blood of your loved one does not lie on the hands of Mark Wilson. Her blood lies on the hands of those who chose to turn their truck into a deadly weapon.
So justice for the defendant's family, they say, is the arrest of those other men who were in that other vehicle. One of them, Vinny, has been charged with a misdemeanor for obstructing police in their investigation, but it's unclear how that's connected to this incident.